Welcome into UGA Football Live with JC Shelton, where the dogs come to talk. What is happening, y'all? Thanks for joining. If you're streaming live on the Pulse Sports Network or listening wherever you get your podcast, another episode of UGA Football Live with JC Shelton. Well, we are fresh off of G-Day. I got some G-Day takeaways for you guys, an NFL draft preview, and I'm joined by former Georgia safety Bacarri Rambo. We talked a lot about the Georgia's defensive scheme, how that relates with the star and the defensive back at strong safety position, and what that'll look like this fall. You know, Bacarri was on Kirby Smart's staff for a couple of seasons, and he gave us some great insight there. So that conversation will come later. But first, I do want to start with these G-Day takeaways for you guys. It was a great day. You know, weather was great. Dog Nation really turned out. Smaller capacity this year because of renovations to Sanford. But I think there was a lot you could take away from this game, and really a good chance, as I spoke on leading up to this game, to see these young players in action, how they're acclimating to the offense, how they're acclimating to the team under Kirby Smart. It's a lot to take on for these guys, especially the early enrollees who've only been in Athens for a few months. So I want to start off with the offense under Mike Bobo. I've got a chance to see him and what he implemented so far this spring after Todd Monken's departure to the Baltimore Ravens. I think the offense really showed out on both sides, both teams in this game. The defense was reeling most of that game, and I think that really points to the talent and the depth on this offense in both the first and the second team. Also closely, I was watching the running back group, transfer receivers, and the young tight ends. On defense, there was plenty to take away there. You know, at linebacker, Samael Mondon didn't participate. We got to see a lot of the young linebackers in Raylan Wilson, C.J. Allen. In the secondary, four-star early enrollee cornerback A.J. Harris stood out. I think he led his team in tackles. Five-star safety early enrollee Jonel Aguero. He was all over the field, especially in the second half. To me, I don't think you can focus too much on the statistical side of things on defense in a scrimmage like this. I instead try to get a feel for, you know, how comfortable the unit communicates, as well as how efficient they are on defense, especially the, you know, in this case, the interior of the defensive line group, replacing Jalen Carter. A lot to look at there. I want to see how these guys can execute and communicate back and forth with each other. And I think that was well done, especially from those early guys that I just mentioned, and Aguero, A.J. Harris, and the linebacker C.J. Allen, Raylan Wilson, and how they were really communicating with each other. And early in this stage and learning the defense and how complicated this scheme is for these guys, you know, coming in from high school. It's not like high school ball at all, right? It's Georgia football. It's SEC football at the top tier programs in the country. A lot to take away, and some of the best defensive minds in college football on that staff for Georgia. So really need to be a sponge from those guys. Came away feeling good about the D-line group, even minus Bear Alexander, the former five-star, has transferred to USC. Also, another transfer, inside linebacker Ryan Davis committed to UCF just last night. And freshman DB Marcus Washington entered the portal this past week as well. You know, Georgia has repeatedly shown that transfers don't break the system, right? The depth and talent there, and how comfortable Kirby Smart is with these guys in the second and third teams and their development. I think that really pays dividends to what this culture has brought about in Athens. So I'm not really worried about these transfers. It always hurts your depth. But these guys and how Kirby Smart has continued to recruit, because you have to prepare for this in the modern era of college football and the transfer portal era. It's always going to be a case where guys leaving programs. You know, Georgia has the least amount of transfers in the SEC over the last few years, even with the portal, and how really good as Georgia has been. You have to play great in practice to really get a chance to play, but still these guys really wait their turn, and Georgia has shown that if you wait your turn and develop under Kirby Smart, you will get to play and you will get a chance at the NFL, and that really develops these guys into the pros. You know, one thing I want to mention on the offense here, and the young tight ends, and Lawson Lucky really looked good. It looked like a Brock Bowers type to me, good size, can line up anywhere, very explosive in and out of breaks for a bigger guy, good hands. He'll have to develop as a blocker. I think that's the biggest thing. These guys, especially at running back as well, are developing it as a blocker from the high school stage. I mean, you're blocking SEC defensive lineman as a tight end at Georgia. And obviously, Georgia really utilizes the blocking at tight end in the past, especially with Darnell Washington, but you're going to miss him, and that's big. I mean, missing a guy, Darnell Washington, who blocks like a tackle and a tackle-sized body, basically, and now you have to bring in another guy in Oscar Delp and Lawson Lucky. Pierce Spurlin was out this spring with that collarbone. So I think these guys developing as a blocker is going to be huge for Georgia. I don't think we're going to see the same type of personnel groupings that we did with Darnell that comes with the territory of losing him. But I think these guys really have to develop into that blocker for Georgia to be able to utilize them as both a passing and a run game attack in the future. And I think that's something that will develop over the course of this summer and the fall, early fall, and really maybe hopefully these guys can get up to speed this season throughout the season. Georgia benefited, I think, from, Pierce Spurlin being out a bit because Lawson Lucky was able to get more reps this spring. So hopefully he feels better. Depth is a concern at tight end with multiple transfers within the group, and then Darnell to the NFL. Oscar Delp looks like he had put on some size. So that's going to help him when he's asked to block. Receiver Arian Smith showed up that, he came a long way in route running, really, when you think about it. He's always been a straight line, pure speed type of guy, track star, one of the fastest players in college football. And he shows that with his average. He has a 28.3 average per catch as a Georgia receiver, which is incredible. I mean, he had 7 catches for like 150 something yards last year and a touchdown. And I think it's really big for his development in becoming a better route runner in those short to intermediate routes. And I think we saw that in the spring game. So talent is there and the development is there for Arian Smith. Dominic Lovett and Ra Thomas as transfers from Missouri, Mississippi State. I think they showed some good things in that spring game, but it's about them developing into this system, learning an entirely new system from their respective teams. And then a new OC in Mike Bobo, and the development that comes along with that, and a new offense, for the team, basically. But I'm glad that Monken's verbiage hasn't changed much from when Bobo came in. I think that's why Kirby made that hire. He was confident in Bobo as a play caller as well. I think we saw a lot of good play calls, and that's why Georgia's offense really showed out in this spring game, I think. Mekhi Muse, he showed out with a splash as a kick returner and a punt returner too. UGA has to replace that kick returning specialist. We had Kenny McIntosh, we had Kyrus Jackson primarily in those roles, and now you need another guy. And it's been a while since Georgia has had an explosive kick returner. And the last guy that really took advantage of that area was Isaiah McKenzie, the human joystick. So getting a guy like that in the back, and he had a 99-yard kick return. He had a 42-yard punt return. I think he had 4 catches, 91 yards. So if he can, I don't expect him to really contribute as a receiver just because of the depth and how deep Georgia is in that group. But as a 5'8", 170-pound guy who it's hard to see as a defender on the kickoff return, the kickoff coverage, I think that he can really utilize that speed and explosiveness there for Georgia. And hopefully we get to see a lot of that this fall and give Georgia another aspect of their attack besides just offense. Really flip the field, though. It's also really, really good to have a returner to flip the field, control field position. So I want to see him get up to speed, and hopefully he can take a lot of reps there because he showed out in the spring game. And finally, the QBs. I'll end it here with our spring game coverage because the QBs, all eyes were on the QBs. And we talked at length about these guys and Carson Beck, Gunnar Stockton, Brock Vandagriff. Obviously, Stockton is the guy who took most of the second team reps this spring, and Brock Vandagriff and Carson Beck were the 2 guys we were really watching to help lead this Georgia offense. And who has the keys? Who's going to get the keys to this offense under Mike Bobo? And I think who walked away from this game thinking that Carson Beck was not going to be the guy for Georgia? I don't think that anyone did. And if you did, I don't know what you were looking at, because Carson Beck's just his ability to keep his composure in the pocket, make his progressions, and then make accurate throws on time to the receivers and throw receivers open. I think we saw all of that at G-Day. I think that's really good for Georgia's chances to maintain the standard that has come the last 2 years and to really vie for another championship. I think there's going to be some bumps. I'm expecting some bumps. It comes with a new offense of coordinator. It comes with a new quarterback. It's bound to happen. I think there'll be some ups and downs, especially in the early season. But as Georgia's able to, get their feet under them and get, for example, the starting rotation in the offensive line, which I'm not worried about at all. I think these guys played really well in the scrimmage game. I think you could put multiple guys along that offensive line and still be really good. Just how deep they are. Especially with returning Cedric Van Pran at center, the captain of that offensive line, really confident in those guys. So I think just it's really up to that quarterback position and developing and getting the confidence from the players. And I think Carson Beck has that, from a guy who's been backing up Stetson, spent a lot of time doing that last year, preparing like he was a starter every game. So I think that really benefits him, and it benefits the offense to have that confidence in him to lead those guys. So I think Carson Beck is the guy. I would be surprised if Brock is named the starter come week 1, and I don't think Kirby Smart's going to name a starter until week 1. It might be another situation where Georgia opens the game, goes through pregame warmups, and then we know who the starter is. Or it's going to be like when Kirby Smart releases the depth chart before the game for the media, it's going to be Carson Beck or Brock Vandagriff or Gunnar Stockton, and we'll just see who trots out there. But I expect it to be Carson Beck, and I'm confident in him. I think he's going to give Georgia the best chance right now. But I would love to see him develop a little bit into more of a runner, just because I know how good Georgia was when Stetson Bennett took off in the past. It gives your offense another area of attack, right, to have that QB run. We talked a lot about it last year with former Bulldogs and guys who know ball. It's so hard to defend that. So I'd love Carson Beck to be able to bring back that aspect for Georgia's offense. Not as explosive as Stetson Bennett, but can he do that at times to really give Georgia the advantage, especially in big games, right? Especially against good defenses, which will come later in the season for Georgia. And I think that's a wrinkle that Bobo may add in the fall. I didn't expect to see that in the scrimmage. Of course, Georgia doesn't want to open up its playbook in the scrimmage. But now the spring's over, you know what that means. And we'll move on to our NFL draft preview here. And I'm just really going to name a few guys we expect to see in the draft. There's some guys also that are not in this list that may get drafted as well. Warren Erickson, the one that stands out. Karis Jackson, another one that stands out, may sign undrafted free agent cards, but they could be selected. You never know. And that's a big thing with these mock drafts and NFL draft previews. You never know. And it's always been kind of an unsaid thing, but NFL teams will put out BS information and just to kind of push teams away from picking the player that they want. All right, it's kind of a rumor, but I think it's true when it comes to these things. And also the media sometimes has a completely different opposite view of what teams do. So this is just our best expectations for what I've gathered around different mock drafts. And most recently, Matt Miller's ESPN full 7-round mock draft, 10 Georgia Bulldogs were selected there. And it really relates to a lot of other mock drafts. It's pretty consistent in this one, so I like this one the best. We'll go off this one, just to give an idea where guys might go. I think first up, obviously, Jalen Carter. We know he had some issues off the field since the end of the season, but he's still one of the top prospects in the draft, still number 1 on Mel Kiper's big board. I think Jalen Carter is a for sure fire top 10 pick, if not top 5. I have him, Jalen Carter, going first. Nolan Smith, another guy who really benefited from a combine performance, getting a lot of good grades from teams and scouts alike. I like Nolan Smith here. I think Matt Miller had him going number 8 to the Atlanta Falcons. Dirty Birds, baby. That would be awesome for Nolan Smith to come back home. Savannah, Georgia native. He was a Georgia Bulldog early in his recruiting, never wavered, turned off his recruiting, actually, shut it down in favor of the Bulldogs early. So that would be awesome for Nolan to come home. But he is expected to be a top 10 pick, if not top 5. Sorry, I had a stroke there. Top 15 pick as well. And then Broderick Jones. Broderick Jones, the offensive tackle there. Top 20, I think he went number 19 in Matt Miller's mock draft to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So I think those three are surefire first rounders. And a couple of guys who were on the edge of that first round is Darnell Washington and Keely Ringo. I've seen mock drafts with him in the first round, with both of those guys in the first round, and some in the second round. Fourth round likely is going to be Chris Smith, 4th or 5th round, right in there at safety. And 5th, 6th, 7th round, we have Stetson Bennett, Warren McClendon, Kenny McIntosh, and Robert Bill Jr. So expecting to see these guys go come draft time this weekend. Of course, Thursday will be that first round, Friday, 2nd, 3rd round, and Saturday, 4th through 7th. So keep up to date, UGAwire.com, of course, part of USA Today's College Wire Network. That's where you have your coverage, and we'll keep you updated on where each guy is taken with what pick during draft time. I'll be covering, and I do love the draft. A lot of the college football fans, I feel like, tell me all the time, hey, love college football, but the NFL is not for me. I'm not that guy. To each his own. I'm not that guy. I love watching these guys in college football and then following them in the NFL and see how they develop. You know, it's a storyline from college into the NFL, especially the Georgia Bulldogs. I love seeing guys represent Georgia in a great way in the pros. So excited to see where these guys get, and I'm excited to get these guys paid, get them paid for what they put, you know, the body on the line for football. And I want to see them represent Georgia in a good light. That said, let's go ahead and get straight into our conversation with former Georgia safety Bacarri Rambo. What's up, guys? Welcome back in. I got a special guest for you guys today. Coming from a little G-Day event for the Players Lounge at Creature Comforts. Got a chance to talk to Bacarri Rambo there and meet him. We got to talking Georgia defense and some schematic things with cornerbacks and DBs. Former Georgia safety, of course, Bacarri was he has to be the top 5 all-time Georgia football names list. Okay, because Bacarri Rambo has to be up there. I mean, absolute one of the best names in college football history, I think. But yeah, great meeting Bacarri, and he was willing enough to come on and talk to Dog Nation. So I'm really excited to have you on, Bacarri. Let the guys know what you're up to, man.
I'm at Fort Lauderdale now, working on my hydration company. We have a hydration product that's good for diabetics and kids and sports and all athletes. Is a product that doesn't carry sugar. We use a rice substance that travels faster through your body than water. So you'll be fully hydrated in 10 minutes. But the main thing is it helps you recover and stay hydrated. And we don't use sugar, no types of sugar. We all natural.
I like it. Yeah, I tried some of it. Of it on Saturday. It worked well. It got me to the stadium. That was a long walk in that hot Georgia sun. Yeah, I like it, man.
That sun was really out there Saturday, man.
Yeah, it was. You know how Georgia is. And to start it off with, I'd love to get a little bit of insight on your recruitment and what that process was like for you in your senior year. And then when that moment was, you became a Georgia Bulldog in your mind, and you decided to come to Athens.
It really started my junior year, to be honest. My senior year, I didn't even take no official visits, except Georgia. I had Florida State and Georgia Tech and North Carolina State and all other schools around the country, and the Southeast Conference. Offered me. Kirby Smart came to my high school when he was at Bama, but I just had a great relationship with Coach Bobo. I always wanted to play for my home state. I didn't want to go nowhere else and try to help their school win when I just wanted to help the state win the national championship. Georgia Tech recruited me as a quarterback because we ran the same offense. Matter of fact, I got my first offer from Georgia Southern from Paul Johnson. And he left at Georgia Southern and went to Georgia Tech. And that's when I got an offer from them. But I was always locked in with Georgia, man. And it's funny because none of my family was Bulldog fans. I had my godmother and my godbrother. They was Bulldog fans, but they didn't have no effect on my decision. But a lot of my family wasn't even – none of my family was Bulldog fans until I came to my hometown is so close to Tallahassee, Florida. A lot of them was Florida State fans, and but I always wanted to go to. Once I got the offer and I went to campus on my official visit, I knew that's where I belonged.
That's great, man. I know Athens has that pull, especially for a lot of these hometown guys, and even more so, you know, after the winning culture Kirby Smart's built and the players he's able to produce in the NFL. I mean, it's really hard, I think, for guys in state to pick somebody else right now. I mean, they do it, but maybe other factors with NIL and stuff might, you know, kind of contribute to that.
I would think so too. It's kind of hard to not play for your home state, especially with Kirby Smart, with the tremendous job he's doing with those guys and just having develop them and get to where they want to be.
Yeah. And going back to your Georgia career, All-American 2011, first team All-SEC in 2011, second team All-SEC in 2012. So you really came on in your junior, senior years there. What was that biggest moment for you when you think back at your Georgia career? I know you went to the NFL as well. What was that moment for you? A game that stands out, obviously 2011 SEC championship. Georgia was right there, had a chance at it. Fortunately, lost to LSU there. But there's a moment that stands out to you, man, where you really look back at with a smile.
Um, I think that whole 2011 season because we was building something there. A lot of our guys got to the positions where they was comfortable learning the scheme, and we kind of bonded and created a brotherhood there to like we all want to play for one another when it came down to Jarvis Jones, Alec Ogletree, Sean Williams, Sanders Cummins, even Brandon Borkins, D'Angelo Tyson, and the list goes on. Cornelius Washington, all of us like bonded together, and all of us really came in together. We grew together, and I would say the whole 2011 season. Probably my favorite moment probably was the Auburn game when I had the interception. It was like it's a lot of things played out in that during that play that it was pretty exciting, and it was just good to be out there with the guys making those plays. But that particular one play, it was just a lot of emotions, and I still watch that highlight clip all the time with us celebrating. It just showed what type of team and brotherhood we had.
Yeah, and a lot of those players you mentioned had time in the NFL, including yourself. We've had Brandon Boykin on the show. Love to get a chance to talk to him when we can. And also another guy you mentioned there, Jarvis Jones, of course, the sack extraordinaire there in that period of time. He's on Georgia's staff right now. And we got a chance to talk about on Saturday how you served on Kirby Smart's staff coming out of the NFL. And I thought that was very intriguing, just to get some insight about what it's like to work with Kirby Smart on his defense, and how much does he demand from his coaches, even in your position?
Oh man, he demands a lot. Like that's one thing I love about Coach Smart is that not alone does he want the best and he want to get the best out of his players. He also does that with his coaches, the trainers, the nutritionists. It's like everybody that's part of that program, he wants you at your best at all times. So just being part of the defensive back group where, he's a defensive back and that's the first position he goes to and he sits in the meetings. I kind of got an earful at times, but it just helped me in today's world, just always be on my P's and Q's, like don't cheat myself, always go out and give my best effort every day, every time I open my eyes, So I salute him for that because he's doing a great job with those guys, he's developing, like I mentioned before. He's doing a tremendous job just teaching them the fundamentals and the techniques that's right for the game. And he always like preparation. Like he always just want those guys to just go out there and give it their all. He sees so much potential in people, and he don't want you to just go out there and lag off and he really just don't want you to go out there and lag off and cheat the game.
Yeah, from the outside looking in, it sure looks like he doesn't. And an interesting fact you brought up, you mentioned there a second, we talked about it Saturday as well, was, people forget because Kirby Smart's so deep in his coaching career, right, with Alabama and Georgia for years now, that people forget that he was a really good defensive back in his day, right? So, and you brought up to me, that's something that these guys buy into even more because he had that experience and he played well in the SEC and helped lead that Georgia defense, right? And the defense has always been a standard in Athens. What aspect does he bring to the table? Because you've been around a lot of coaches, right? You've been a lot of coaches in the NFL and college as well, and different minds and guys, trying to help you out as a defensive back. Did he bring something to the table that they didn't?
I would think so. I mean, it's just you gain a lot. Not saying you don't gain respect from coaches that haven't played the game or at the NFL level was excellent in college level, but it's just something about it, in my opinion, that you trust him more. Also, with his resume of him coaching the defensive backs at Alabama and all those first runners they had, you trust him more. So obviously, I feel like he knows something. I feel like he see what I see. It's like he understand as a player how things work out. Like a lot of times, coaches watch a film and they'll pause it and be like, "Why you do this? Why you do that?" But coach, they're not pausing during the game. They continue to move, and he sees it that way. Like so it just I feel like you'll gain a lot more respect from a coach that been out there and knows the S's and O's, but also has the resume.
Yeah, no, that makes complete sense. And he's turning out defensive backs right and left when Georgia really hasn't been doing that at this level over the period of time that before Kirby Smart and under that Mark Richt era that you were part of as well. You guys like yourself and Brandon Boykin, of course, and then Kirby Smart comes in. You got Keely Ringo's about to be highly drafted, Christopher Smith this year, and then Tyson Campbell's doing things well right now as well. A guy that stands out to me, and Kendrick from a year ago as well with the Rams. So a lot of good
DeAndre
guys.
Baker and Eric Stokes. Yeah, you got he's doing a great job developing them, man. And I think it comes from the way they practice and the competition at practice. Like you can't go out there and cheat yourself because the guy behind you might be more talented than you. You just don't have that much experience as you. So you have to build your A game every single day.
And under Kirby Smart, is that in that competition you just spoke about there, is that one-on-ones with the receivers, or is it 7-on-7 based, that competition aspect, or is it a little bit of both?
A little bit of both. I mean, yeah, it's a little bit of both. I don't think they did. They really didn't do much one-on-ones at practice. At times, sometimes they do. I don't know how it is now. But back when I was doing, I felt back when I was coaching, they didn't do as much one-on-ones as we did as a group, But it's just you really don't have to do it when because I feel like one-on-ones is always an offensive drill. Like the receivers are always going to be open. The quarterback ain't got nobody in his face or throwing the timing off. So I always felt like that was offensive drill. But you have your one-on-one coverages where a receiver is a cover one or a cover zero, and it's a receiver going against it's Eric Stokes going against George Pickens and stuff like that. So I would consider that a one-on-one. But it's more game like because you got defensive linemen, you got to have the quarterback moving in the pocket and all those things. So it's always a competition. It's very competitive in practice. Like those guys, they really got after it.
Yeah, they do now. That's what I hear a lot from the players now is just they always talk about it, how hard practice is. It makes it easier on game day. And I feel like, it really making that competition more of a team base and including that defensive line aspect, the linebackers and the quarterback having to deal with people in their face, as well as, defensive backs getting that help that they usually get on the field as well. I think they'd be better. Let's talk a little bit because they're interesting thing that Georgia's going to have to deal with and a question in this secondary is somebody starting opposite of Kamari Lassiter, right? Because we've got Keely Ringo going. So who's going to be the other starting corner, as well as safety, Christopher Smith, who we just mentioned. He's, of course, gone. You have Malachi Starks coming off a really good, freshman All-American season. So he's got the talent there. He's going to have the more leadership role this year. We returned Dan Jackson. He's going to have to battle back from that foot injury. Still's not cleared. Tyke Smith, All-American in 2020 transfer, had some injury issues as well, but he looks to be back in form as far as health-wise. He's going to be contributing, but you and I were talking about Javon Bullard as that star. Yeah. He played so well last year, and you talked to me and you kind of let me know, and I didn't know this before, is that how related the star and the strong safety are and how they really complement each other. So you said it wouldn't be a big move for Javon to move back there. Can you kind of tell, Dog Nation, what that's like and what you were telling me on Saturday?
I just think, like, in that system, the strong safety and the star, like, it's like they got a 2-on-2 game and pick up basketball. Like I'm playing, like the strong safety plays off of the star. Whatever the star does, the strong safety has got to be there to back him up. So if the star blitzes, who you think covering the star? The slot man, the strong safety. So I think Javon is going to do a great job because he's not as close to the line. He'll be more back, so he'll have better eyes. But he gonna be very familiar with it because once you're looking at the star position, you're looking at the strong safety position because they correlate with each other. I think the game will be a lot slower for him also, and it'll make him more valuable to the defense because you can always put him back at star. And I think in that system, the star position is one of the most important positions on that defense because he has to fit in a run. He has to know his run gaps. He has to know when to blitz. He has to know all the coverages. He's like Kirby does so much with that star. So I think Javon would like be the right guy for it because he has experience. But he also can play strong. Like he's just that talented of a player. So yeah, it kind of goes together. I think he'll pick it up pretty well.
Yeah,
because at one point, I think, if I'm not mistaken, at one point, Kirby had Chris Smith playing start, and it made him play strong safety a lot better because he knows like what's going on. Like all of those guys are not only gonna play one position.
Mm-hmm.
He gonna put another thing I like about Coach Smart, he always put those players in the best position. He played them to their strength. He'll evaluate them. And he plays them to their strength. If they can't do something, he's not going to ask them to go out there and do it. But if he knows they can do it, he's going to put them out there even when they don't think they can do it. He see potential when they don't see it in themselves.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I like what you said there about, making Christopher Smith a better strong safety as well. I mean, these guys, they play, like you just said, they play these roles. I mean, they've taken reps and snaps. I mean, last year, Javon took snaps at safety. So he has that experience, especially in practice. So I really like the move there. Who else would they put at star opposite him? We'll have to see. But I don't think it's going to be somebody, like you just said, who can't do it. Right.
Right. They got a lot of guys out there that can play the strong safety. But when you got a star that knows what's going on, like for example, if Javon plays strong safety and star, but they move him back at star, he's able to help that strong safety. He's able to help that strong safety behind him with the calls because he knows what it's like to be a strong safety. He knows like this is what you do. He can help groom a young guy and help make a young guy feel comfortable. And sometimes the young guy might not know what's going on, but he understands the call. And as long as he can get the call and know his assignment, they shouldn't miss a beat.
Yeah, no, I'm really looking forward to it. I think, like I just said, these guys are going to be in the right position come the fall. And I feel like Kirby Smart has shown that in the past. He's going to put these guys in the best position, especially in that secondary, which he knows so well. And I really appreciate the insight. And, before we get out of here, I do want to bring up the NFL career. And I'm going to guess that a lot of Donation does not remember this or know this, but I was reading up on you before. And I saw this. I remembered it as well. But you got signed to Buffalo, right?
Right.
And a month later, in the middle, I think it was November, you got signed. A month later, you picked off Aaron Rodgers twice in one game. I don't know if there's a list I'm sure there is a list of the players who've picked off Aaron Rodgers twice in a game, but I think it's probably really, really short. So, I mean, that's incredible accomplishment, and I hope they send you a plaque for that because Aaron Rodgers has one of the best touchdown to interception ratios, I think the best ever.
Yeah, dude, I think so too.
Tell me about that game,
man. So it was crazy because one of our safeties, I want to say he was hurt the previous week, and the second string safety, he had got hurt like probably first half of the game, first quarter of the game. So then I got in, and they felt like I didn't know as many of the calls, but I'm like, I come from an NFL system with Coach Grantham, so all of this stuff is like, I understand it. Like, just put me in. I know it's the game. But the first one, I can't even tell you what happened. Like, if you would have just, it kind of was a blown coverage, to be honest, because one side of the field was playing half, but I was playing the middle of the field in the corner on the outside, just let them run by. And what's his name? Um, what's the Nelson? What's his name? The receiver,
Jordy Nelson.
Yeah, Jordy Nelson was wide open, but Arian had the pressure in his face, so he forced it down the middle, and I just made a play. And the second one, I just felt like my instincts kicked in because I was doubling the guy. He ran off, and I just started freelance and ran the quarterback, and it just popped in the air. Somebody tipped the ball, and tips and overthrows. That always happen in the game. You have to be prepared and ready for them. So I got a tip ball, and I just jumped on it. But the craziest thing during that season, Aaron Rodgers had 4 interceptions, and I had 2 of them. So I was like, man, where my extension at?
Wow, dude, that is incredible. I mean, I didn't know that part either. 4 total interceptions, and you had 2 of them. I love that, man. What was the aftermath of that game like, man? Did you walk off the field, you had to be feeling good about yourself. I mean, come on.
Man, I felt good. It actually was a huge confidence booster because I had just got released from the Redskins earlier that year. So it made me feel like, man, I can play in this league. I can do great things out there, So it was a huge confidence booster for me.
I love it, man. Well, hey, we appreciate hearing about that, especially and the breakdown there, the Georgia secondary and Dog Nation. I feel like we have a better understanding there of what goes on with the star and safeties as well and how they correlate with each other. And we really appreciate your time, man. Hey, tell Dog Nation where you can find what you're selling. I tried it, like I said, on Saturday, hydrating. It was really good. The flavor as well. Tell them where you can find them, man.
We got an online page right now. We taking pre-orders. You got to go to OMG 2-Minute Hydration and make sure y'all check us out. And I promise you, it won't let you down. It's the best thing since sliced bread. I just think that is really going to change people's lives, just how they can, the time. Because like I was telling somebody today, like if you drink all these other products that's using sugar to carry the electrolytes, the minerals, and the vitamins, it takes 45 minutes for your body to start the process of breaking down sugar. But our product only takes 2 minutes. And then 10 to 15 minutes, you feel hydrated. Like, for example, if you cramping and you drinking Gatorade, by the time it kicks in, whatever activity you are doing, it's going to be over by the time you hydrate and your cramp is going away. But with our product, if you take it, you cramp, and then you take it, in 10, 15 minutes, you're going to be hydrated. That cramp is going to be gone so you can get out there and perform at the top level. But you have to OMG and hydration. Yeah, make sure y'all check it out.
Will do, guys. Yep. You want to get hydrated, you can't pick off Aaron Rodgers twice cramping. So make sure you check him out. Make sure to check him out, guys. Really appreciate it. Bacarri, go Dogs, man.
All right, go Dogs. Second.